We have Lloyd Singleton today to talk to us about fertilizer. Welcome, Lloyd.
Thank you.
Why do we need to fertilize a garden? I thought naturally plants grow without fertilizer.
Well, they do. One of our 9 principles of Florida-friendly landscaping is to fertilize appropriately. A lot of developments in the area have been, the natural soils have been disturbed, and so the natural soil biology is disturbed as well. A lot of fill, a lot of construction debris, things like that cause the soils to be less than nutritious for plants, and that's why fertilizer plays a big role.
Then how much do we know how do we know how much to put on? If a little bit is good, is more better?
Not necessarily, in fact, almost always not. It's very important to fertilize appropriately, meaning with the right amount and the right type of fertilizer. Our lawns are our biggest user of fertilizer, and so it's important that we do select the right kind and that we use the right amounts. We actually have a video we'd like to show now that talks about some of that in selecting the fertilizer and in why it's very important to fertilize with the right amount.
Okay, great. Let's see it.
Okay.
Fertilizers have been used for years to grow and maintain healthy lawns. Your grass's health depends on applying the right amount of fertilizer at the right times. The right amount of fertilizer can create a lawn with strong, thick roots that helps prevent water pollution by filtering stormwater runoff. Too little fertilizer may cause a thin root system that can't take up all the fertilizer it's been given. But if hundreds of thousands of residential lawns are over-fertilized, water pollution can be the result. The extra fertilizer travels past the grass's root zone and soaks into the aquifer, where almost all of the fresh water used in Florida comes from. Or it will be washed by rainfall directly into surface water or stormwater systems that drain to our local springs, lakes, rivers, and bays. Using the right amount of fertilizer makes it easier to control weeds, insects, and diseases. On the other hand, over-fertilizing can aggravate those same pest problems, make grass grow too fast, and require more frequent watering. Recent studies show that nitrate levels from fertilizer nitrogen are rising in many local water bodies. Nitrate is a form of nitrogen that is found in inorganic fertilizers. Once in our water bodies, these nutrients can cause harmful algal blooms that block out light, lower the water's oxygen level, turn the water a green or rust color, and lead to fish kills. For example, excess nitrogen is the #1 pollutant in Tampa Bay. Local governments spend millions of dollars each year to remove nitrogen from area water bodies. If your landscape is healthy and attractive, you may not need to fertilize at all. You can help keep our water clean, protect our aquatic wildlife, and have a beautiful lawn by following these tips when fertilizing. Fertilize only when the grass is actively growing. Use slow-release fertilizers. Always follow package directions. Don't fertilize before a heavy rain. Measure your yard to determine how much to buy.
For more information on Florida-friendly fertilizing, contact your County UF-IFAS Extension Office. You can also learn more online at watermatters.org/fertilizing. Brought to you by the Southwest Florida Water Management District.
Well, those are really good reasons to fertilize appropriately, but they were talking about lawns. What about our shrubs and trees?
Well, they do often need fertilizer as well, but that might be a different type. So there's some fundamentals about fertilizer and a fertilizer bag that we could talk to as well. We have another video that kind of explains that to us.
Does it tell us what those 3 numbers are that
Sure
are on
does.
fertilizer bags?
The NPK, the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium.
Okay, great. Let's watch that.
Okay.
One of the most important pieces of information to find on a fertilizer bag is the amount of slow-release nitrogen in the fertilizer. Slow release means that nitrogen is available to the lawn over an extended time, providing a steady supply of nutrition throughout the growing season. It's a good idea to look for fertilizer with higher amounts of slow-release nitrogen. Look for the slow-release percentage of nitrogen at the bottom of the Guaranteed Analysis section on the back of the bag. For example, This bag contains slowly available nitrogen from coated urea. You might also see the words timed release, controlled release, or water-insoluble nitrogen. Fertilizer with slow-release nitrogen will take a bit longer to show the effects, but will last longer too, up to 60 days. But just because it lasts 60 days doesn't mean you need to fertilize that often. In fact, you should only fertilize when your grass is actively growing. If you're applying a fertilizer with 30% or more of slow-release nitrogen, then no matter what kind of grass you have or where in the state you live, apply no more than 1 pound of nitrogen for every 1,000 square feet of lawn each time you apply fertilizer. To determine the correct amount of fertilizer per 1,000 square feet, divide 100 by the percentage of nitrogen in the bag. For example, a fertilizer with a 15-0-15 label contains 15% nitrogen, 0% phosphorus, and 15% potassium. Divide 100 by 15 to get 6.6. This is the number of pounds of slow-release fertilizer needed to apply 1 pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet. This works for any fertilizer product or amount of nitrogen. Now let's look at the 3 numbers on the front of the bag. These numbers indicate the percentage of the 3 prime elements needed for growth: nitrogen, N, phosphorus, P, and potassium, K. If you did a soil test, you'll be able to refer to it now as you choose a fertilizer. The first number is for nitrogen, or the letter N. Nitrogen is responsible for rich, lush growth and a healthy, dark green color. Too much nitrogen can make grass blades grow too fast, which can make your turf vulnerable to disease and drought stress. Plus, you'll have to mow more often. The middle is phosphorus, or the letter P. Phosphorus is important for root growth. However, in most Florida soils, there is already a lot of phosphorus. That means we have to make sure the fertilizer we choose is very low in phosphorus. It's best to look for a fertilizer with low or 0 P, unless you have a soil test report that recommends adding phosphorus. The third number is for potassium, or the letter K. Potassium promotes strong stems and roots and helps move water within the plant. It improves disease resistance and prepares the grass to survive the cooler months. It's best to look for a fertilizer where the first and third numbers are equal, or in a ratio of 2 to 1.
For more information on Florida-friendly fertilizing, contact your County UF IFAS Extension Office. You can also learn more online at watermatters.org/fertilizing. Brought to you by the Southwest Florida Water Management District.
That was very interesting about fertilizer labels. Do you have any tips about what type we should be using?
Well, I think a good rule of thumb is that the fertilizer is really cheap. It's probably not a very good fertilizer. The ones that have the better time release elements are ones that are a little bit more engineered and are going to cost a little bit more money, but it's well worth the investment to protect our environment and to make for healthier plants and healthier landscapes.
Now, I know some counties or municipalities are banning fertilizer at certain times of the year. Is that going to help us to keep our water cleaner, or does that work with this whole Florida-friendly landscaping?
It actually kind of works against it in some municipalities if they're banning it during the active growing season, because that's when the plants really need it and can take it up. It's most important to remember not to fertilize during a dormant period. You want the plant to be able to take that up so the nutrients don't run off.
But there are certain times, like just before heavy rain, when we want to make sure we are not fertilizing as well.
Absolutely, just as the video pointed out.
Great. Any other tips?
Fertilize properly and do your part to protect our environment.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.